Hey everyone, Micah here with EbikeSchool.com, and this is a used electric bike. Now you might be in the market for buying a used e-bike because it's a great way to save a lot of money. E-bikes are expensive and used can be a great budget option. However, you want to be careful when looking at used e-bikes on places like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, wherever you shop, to make sure that you're getting a good bike and that there aren't hidden problems in here. In today's video, I'm going to go over a bunch of different areas on a bike that you want to look at and inspect when you go to check out and potentially buy a used electric bike. And by the way, someone watching this video right now, maybe you, is going to win a free e-bike at the end of this video. It's part of a program I started called Ebikes For Good, and this time it's going to be a Rad Power Bikes Rad Runner 2 that we're giving away. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to see how that could be you. Now, when you're looking at a potential used e-bike to buy, one of the first things you want to figure out is how old is this bike? And there are a few ways to do it. First of all, you want to research the model. This bike here is a Rad Power Bikes Rad Mission. If you go online and you look, you'll see that this model was discontinued in late 2022, early 2023, which means that as of right now, the youngest this e-bike can be is about a year and a half or so. Now, as the original owner of the bike, I know that it's about 3.5 years old because this is one of the first Rad missions ever made. But unless the owner is going to volunteer that kind of information, you got to use some other clues to try and figure some of this stuff out. Researching the bike online will also tell you if there have been any recalls or other issues with the bike that you want to steer clear of. One of the reasons that it's really important to get an idea of the age of the bike is because different quality bikes are going to last different amounts of time. If you look at really high-end bikes, something that originally cost like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 MSRP from the retailer, those bikes can last many years. 5 years is not a insignificant amount of time, and those bikes can do it. But if you're looking at cheaper bikes that originally retailed for like $1,000, after just a year or two, those bikes can really start to show their age in terms of the lower quality components and the wear that they're developing. Researching this specific model online will also tell you if the business is even still operating. There have been a lot of e-bike companies that have gone out of business in the last few years, and for those types of bikes, it can be difficult to find replacement parts in the future. Some parts are pretty common: pedals, chains, cassettes, handlebars, etc. You can find those pretty much anywhere. They're all interchangeable. But bigger parts like the battery, that could be a problem to find if the company's gone out of business. So I generally recommend steering clear of those bikes that have gone out of business unless you know going in that you're taking a risk and you can get a much better price for those. Next, it's always a good idea to look for signs that the bike has been in a crash, any significant damage. Important places to look are joints along the frame where frame members come together. It's a good idea to just look around for any sort of cracking, paint that's starting to develop a crack in it, which could be an indication that the metal underneath is fatiguing, that sort of thing. Next, a telltale sign of a crash is to come look at both the brake levers here as well as the ends of the bars. The other spot that bikes usually show crash signs is at the edge of the pedals here. So anytime a bike is moving fairly quickly and goes down, these are the 3 points that usually make contact with the ground. If you see long sort of linear scrape marks on any of these points, that means the bike was in a crash before. Sometimes there's just like a little scrape mark or a little bump, and that might just mean that the bike fell over once or twice, not as big of a deal. But if you see big, long, linear scratches, that's a crash. Another place to look is how true the wheel is. So pick the bike up and spin that tire and see if it spins nice and straight or if it's more of a wobbly pizza dough kind of situation. Same thing in the back, just rock the bike up on the kickstand, spin that pedal, and take a look and see if that wheel is spinning nice and straight or if it's sort of got that, pizza pie in the air when they throw it up kind of situation. Those are the main points where you're going to see crash damage and indications that this frame or other components have undergone some pretty significant damage. Next, let's talk about that battery, because this can be one of the most expensive parts on an e-bike, so you don't want to mess this up. The biggest issue with batteries is just age. E-bike batteries will break down over time and they're just not going to work as well. So it's a good idea to get an idea of the age of the battery here. As I mentioned earlier, for a really good quality, high dollar e-bike, those batteries are going to last years and years, but on cheaper e-bikes, they can start wearing down and showing their age within just a few years. A good way to test if the battery still has good strength or not is to get on and do a test ride and look at either the voltage on the display or the battery capacity. This is most easily done when the battery is around half charge or so and not at the fully charged end or the almost discharged end of the battery. So hop on that bike, put it in full power mode, full power pedal assist or full power for the throttle, yank that throttle or step on the pedal assist really hard and see if the battery capacity meter drops. If it drops significantly, that's called voltage sag, and it's not a good indication for the battery's health. Now, a little bit of voltage sag is normal. Even a brand new day one battery is gonna have some voltage sag. But if the battery is at like half full and when you twist that throttle, it drops, a couple of battery bars or something, that's a bad sign. It means the battery is pretty weak. There are other things to look for that are kind of red flags as well. Most e-bike batteries are gonna have some sort of tamper seal at a seam somewhere on the battery. Look for this sticker and see if it's been broken. If it has, that's an indication that the battery's been opened, probably some sort of DIY at-home repair or an unauthorized repair shop. Next, pop the battery out and look at the battery contacts. If you see like a bluish or greenish corrosion or staining, that's an indication that the battery has gotten wet several times and those contacts are starting to corrode. That doesn't necessarily mean the battery's bad. On this e-bike, I've got that. I've left this bike out in the rain many times and it still works great. But if you have a cheaper e-bike and the battery's not very well sealed, it could mean problems down the road. It's also a good idea to check the original manufacturer's images on the website and compare them to the battery that you're seeing on the bike to see if it really is the original battery or if it's been replaced by some sort of cheaper third-party battery over time. Same thing with the battery charger. Try and get a look at the battery charger to see if it's the original real battery charger that came with the bike or if perhaps they lost it or they got some aftermarket charger. Next, you're going to want to test every part of the electrical system. Obviously, does the bike turn on, that sort of thing, but run through all the options in the display to make sure it works. Go through all of those different pedal assist levels. Put it in high power, low power, everything. Turn that motor on. Listen to see if you've got any crunching noises, any grinding noises, something that could indicate that the gears and those teeth on those gears are starting to wear down in those geared motors. You may also want to test it on a hill if you have one in the area and they'll let you try it out. Put it on a steep hill so you can really do a heavy load test on it to see if you hear any of that grinding noise from sort of an old worn out motor. Check around the other parts of the bikes like the headlight, the tail light, any turn signals that the bike might have, horn buttons, other auxiliary buttons, any sort of other functions the bike may have, test those out. Even things like the brake cutoffs. When you turn the bike on and you run the motor up, if you pull the brake lever, will the motor suddenly stop and cut out correctly like it should? That sort of thing. Then move on to the mechanical components. Things like brakes are pretty obvious, test ride the bike, make sure the brakes work. But more than that, get down there and look at them. If you take a look at this bike here, the brake cable is actually starting to fray. You can see it's starting to come out of the rest of the cable here, which is not a great sign. That shows that the bike's cables are older, they're probably more brittle, and they may need to be replaced soon. Another thing to look at is just how far they are adjusted. Here you can see that the arm from this caliper is almost all the way adjusted down. So when I pull the brake lever, it's almost bottoming out here. That shows that these brake pads are super worn down and that they're probably going to need to be replaced soon. Again, not a terrible thing, it doesn't say that the bike is bad, but it does indicate some upcoming expenses that you might need to worry about. Same thing like the tires. Get in here and check. Look for any brittle marks, any cracking in old tires, tire rot just like you would in a car. Again, doesn't mean the bike is bad per se, but that you might have, some upcoming expenses here, and perhaps it's even something you can use in the negotiations. Telling the seller, hey, look, these tires, I'm gonna have to replace these right away. That's $100 right there. Can you knock $100 off the price? This bike is a single speed, so there's no, transmission to worry about in terms of shifting gears, but still run through, make sure that everything is lining up properly here. If you do have gears, shift those gears, make sure the derailleur is working. A lot of e-bikes spend their entire life in top gear. People don't shift those gears because they're using the throttle, so it could be the derailleur's stuck or has other problems. Check that chain. Is everything sort of like nasty and gunky and gross, sort of like my chain here, which I'm a bit embarrassed to show you, or has it been really well maintained and really well taken care of? In this case, this bike, I've given it a hard life. I've ridden it off-road, which it's not meant for. I don't think I've ever oiled the chain. You know, I've got a lot of bikes, and unfortunately this one got a bit neglected because it was a lower cost bike. It's still holding up really well, but it shows you can really see when you look at these parts of the bikes if the bike was well maintained and well cared for, or if it was a bit neglected. One last place a lot of people forget to check is suspension. Now, this is a rigid bike, so I don't have a suspension fork here, but check those seals. Do things look brittle and cracking? Is it leaking oil? Or if it's a spring, you know, when you bounce it, do you hear like the spring bouncing around like it's loose or parts are broken? That sort of thing. Basically, check all those mechanical parts and look for failures, look for things that are broken, and basically get an idea of whether it looks like it's been well maintained and cared for or not. One important thing to ask the seller of any used bike is if they have some sort of proof of ownership. Can they show you a receipt from when they bought it? This is good because it not only shows you that the bike wasn't stolen, but if they have the receipt and they can show it to you, then it's a way to check to see how old the bike is. You can see exactly when they bought it. If they can't show you a receipt, maybe they say, you know, they bought it from someone else, then that is either an indication that this is like, you know, second, third-hand bike, it's got some use on it, it's been passed around, or it, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean it's stolen, but it shows that it doesn't have a well-documented past, so it's something to consider. Now, if they do have the receipt and then give that to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to transfer that warranty if it's still within the warranty period. Some e-bike companies will say that the warranty is just for the original owner, it doesn't transfer with a third-party sale, so keep that in mind. So these are all the main things that I look for when I'm looking at a used electric bike for sale. It's not a foolproof way, but a lot of these are indications that can give you an idea of the age of the bike, the quality of the battery, the type of maintenance or care it's had along the way, and whether it's been in any major crashes or accidents. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this video that someone watching would be winning a free e-bike, and I am super excited to partner with Rad Power Bikes to be giving away a Rad Runner 2 this time. This is part of a program I started called Ebikes For Good, where I give away a free e-bike at the end of every one of my videos by partnering with an awesome e-bike company. As you've seen, this Rad Mission, it's about 3.5 years old and it's still working awesome, even with not being that well maintained. So I have been super happy with all of the Rad Power bikes that I've had over the years, and I know that they're good quality because they've just really lasted for me. In this case, the Rad Runner 2 is an awesome e-bike for all sorts of uses. Whether you're a commuter, you want a utility bike for getting around, something like a cargo bike that can carry, you know, kids on the back, or gear, cargo, baskets, boxes, whatever you strap to that thing, it is a great bike for those purposes. It's powerful, it's fast, it's multi-purpose, it's got a big battery on it. Basically, it's got everything that most people want in an electric bike. It doesn't fold, they've got other models for that. It's not a super long cargo bike, again, they've got other models for that, but it's one of those bikes that does as many things as possible in one package. And I think this is going to be an awesome e-bike for somebody out there. So, how's this Ebikes For Good giveaway going to work? Basically, if you are someone who an e-bike would make a big impact in your life, but you just can't afford it, it's just out of reach, then I want you to head over to EbikeSchool.com/EbikesForGood. There's an entry form there, and let me know your story. Let me know why you need an e-bike. Maybe you need it to get to work, to visit family, to get to doctor's appointments. Whatever it is, share your story with me, and then at the end of my next video, there will be a random drawing among the deserving entrants to see who will win that free e-bike. Big thanks again to Rad Power Bikes for making this possible. Now it's time to announce the winner of the Ebikes For Good giveaway from my last video. And the randomly selected deserving entrant is Sean B. So congratulations, Sean. I'm going to be excited to get that bike out for you. If you guys want to be like Sean and win a free e-bike, make sure you head on over to EbikeSchool.com/EbikesForGood, enter the giveaway, and hopefully we can make it happen for you. Last but not least, it is time to announce the winner of the book giveaway from my last video. And the randomly selected commenter who will win a free copy of one of my books is SWE Creations. So congratulations, just let me know which one of my books you'd like. You can choose from DIY lithium batteries, DIY solar power, the ultimate do-it-yourself e-bike guide, or my latest book, the Electric Bike Manifesto. And anybody else who wants a chance to win one of my books for free, all you gotta do is put a comment down below this video. You can say anything you'd like, and hopefully you'll be the randomly selected commenter at the end of my next video. And if you don't wanna wait that long to hopefully win a free copy of one of my books, you can always find them on Amazon. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you here next time.